G'day guys, Fitcho here and welcome back to my F1 2018 Career Mode. We're here for episode number 4 and the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. And if you guys did miss the previous round of the championship, the Chinese Grand Prix, there'll be a card in the top right hand corner of the screen. Make sure you do go and watch that race. That was an absolutely epic race, the best race of the season so far. Now, coming into this weekend at Azerbaijan, both Red Bull and Mercedes have actually put upgrades on their car. Mercedes was fairly minor, just becoming the fastest car on the grid, and Red Bull has closed a lot of ground up to myself and Ferrari and Mercedes, I should say. However, they're not going to be very strong here with the nature of this circuit being so many straights. So because of that, I have put an upgrade on the car, which is expected in Monaco, just to try to keep Ferrari as the equal best car on the grid. Now, I was talking about how this track is full of so many straights. For that reason, I've tried to put a new engine in this car. Of course, starting at the back of the grid, we don't really need to worry about managing our engine allowance across the entire season. If we take penalties, we take penalties. We're going to be starting at the back regardless of how things go. So there should be a new power unit in the car for this race. However, I tried to fit it at the end of Friday practice and it's still saying pending, so I'm not actually sure if it is in the car or not. Now, speaking of penalties, yet again this weekend, we're not starting right at the back. We're actually in P19, as Kevin Magnussen has taken a penalty. He is starting behind us, and Carlos Sainz also taking a penalty. He is starting in 18th. So we have a few quick drivers for company right at the back of the grid. Now, if we have a look at the race strategy and specifically the forecast, it's going to get very, very interesting. We're starting in sun, then we have a bit of cloud, and then some light rain, and then finishing the race off in heavy rain conditions. So because of that, I'm going to be starting on the hardest compound available to us here at Baku, which is the soft tires, and trying to drag them out as long as we can throughout the race, hopefully to the point where we have to swap to a wet weather tire, try to remove an extra stop from the Grand Prix and give us a 20-second advantage on the rest of the field. Now, if you guys are new to the channel, make sure you do subscribe with notifications on so you know when every episode of this series does go live. Without further ado, let's head to the race. Here we go, we're on the grid, grab the clutch, get the revs up as the lights come on. We've got 5 red lights and it's lights out, and away we go. The Azerbaijan Grand Prix is underway. A fair bit of wheel spin off the line, and Kevin Magnussen gets a better start than we do, and we just get boxed in here next to Magnussen behind Sorokin through turn number 1, and there's just nothing we can do. Try to edge Magnussen across the inside, and he's going to dive it up the inside of 3 cars. We're going to try to follow him up the inside of Sergei Sorokin, side by side with the Williams. We have the ideal line as we head down towards turn number 3. We have Carlos Sainz next up in front of us, and he looks to the outside of Stoffel Van Dorn, but he can't make that move stick, and we're going to have to sit in behind Sainz now as we start to head into the more follow the leader part of this Baku city circuit. There's just not many opportunities, that's the word, to overtake through this part of the circuit. You just got to stay close to the car in front of you, and then when we get back onto the straight, deploy that ERS and go for the movers. Now, into the castle section we do go. This is where it gets super, super tight. The famous turn number 8. Careful through there, and we all get through there unscathed on lap number 1, as now the track starts to open up a little bit again onto this far section across the top of the old city. Only 2 proper corners left, and then we are back onto the very, very long back straight. We close up so much on Carlos Sainz in the braking zone, but we struggle on the traction, and that could just cost us as through the last proper corner we go. And now it's a 1.4 mile flat out run all the way back up to turn number 1, and that moment on the power might just have cost us a chance at going after Carlos Sainz in the Renault as he goes to the inside of Stoffel Van Dorn. 2 Renault powered cars here as we don't have anywhere really to go. Can we squeeze up the inside of Carlos Sainz? Yes, we can, but we have to go quite early on the brakes. We have such a compromised line through there, but we do make that stick. A double overtake on 2 Renault powered cars, and up into 17th place. We go a little bit deep there on the brakes as now we set our sights on the Toro Rosso, Honda powered Toro Rosso of Brendan Hartley, who I feel will struggle quite a lot at this round of the championship. Right into the last real corner, and now we turn our ERS back up to hot lap mode. We've tried our best to save it through the middle of the lap, and the ERS management is going to be so pivotal in this race. I do believe, as Sebastian Vettel sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. He could possibly have gotten into the lead, and it looks like he has indeed. In hot lap mode, though, we are not quite closing on Brendan Hartley enough. Or are we for a dive? No, we're not. He sees us coming and jinks to the inside, and that just puts us off any sort of dive bomb, and then he really parks it through the apex of turn number 1. But we're now on to lap number 3, and we do get DRS down this DRS straight here towards turn number 3. We've got the run on Brendan Hartley, DRS, ERS in hot lap mode, and we're up the inside in to turn number 3 and up into 16th place. As now we have Kevin Magnussen, who's made pretty good ground considering he started behind us on the grid. Very, very aggressive on lap number 1. What you expect from the Dane nowadays, though. Right, Jeff saying the rain could be arriving in only 10 to 15 minutes, so I think this is a bit earlier than we did originally expect, which is going to play into our hands with our strategy, because it's going to be easier for us to get these soft tires all the way to the rain. But we are, that's something I should actually mention, of course, we are on the soft tires. We're going to be struggling while we are in a much quicker car than these guys. We're on the soft tires. A lot of these guys are on supers or even the ultra soft tires, which are a lot quicker than the soft tires. As we lock up down into turn number 1, this might have just given Brendan Hartley the sniff that he needs to come back at us into turn number 2, but not quite close enough. We have our ERS in hot lap mode. He is going to have DRS, but I think that should be enough for us to stay ahead with our Ferrari power unit. As the yellow flags up ahead, what has happened? It actually looks like it's behind us on the track looking at the mini-map, and the yellow flags are back out yet again. I'm waiting to see someone retire from the race or something. And there we go, Brendan Hartley from right out behind me, and he is gone from this Grand Prix. I'm not too sure what has happened. I have a feeling that would be a mechanical failure. A lot of stress on the engines at this track, especially with the two super long straights back to back, and the Honda clearly couldn't take it, and that is gone. And we have another Honda powered car just 2 ahead of us in Pierre Gasly. How long is his engine going to last? Oh, Kevin Magnussen is off into the pit lane at the end of lap number 4. That seems like a very early pit stop for Magnussen, and it looks like he's one of a few cars that has actually gone into the pits. Now we are gaining up onto the back of Pierre Gasly. We are in DRS range now, but he is getting DRS off the car in front of him, which looks like the McLaren of Fernando Alonso. So we're just going to have to be patient here. That's actually Ericsson, I should say. I'm seeing the McLaren further up the road, another 2 places up, fighting with Lance Stroll. Right, our teammate is in the pits. That is Sebastian Vettel, who was leading this Grand Prix at the end of lap number 5. How many cars in front of us are also going to dive in the pit lane as we have DRS on Pierre Gasly with hot lap ERS? That Honda power unit stands absolutely no chance, and we're going to go around the outside, leave him a tiny little bit of space on the inside. He only had his nose there, so he probably didn't deserve the amount of space. I did leave him, but we don't want to get into too many incidents early in the Grand Prix. As now we're in the slipstream of Marcus Ericsson. DRS flap open still in hot lap mode on the ERS, gaining up on the Swede, and we're going to look up his inside down into turn number 3. A little bit of a lockup. We had to go very, very aggressive on the brakes to get that move done as he's coming back up our inside at turn number 4, but that's going to become the outside, and we get the better run, better traction on the racing line, and we get that move done with all the cars that have dived into the pit lane. We are now up into 6th place in this Grand Prix right now. So I have a feeling it's going to be a couple more laps until we see the rest of these guys pit, as they're almost going 3 wide behind us, because we are now among the super soft runners. All the ultra guys, I think, have pitted. Now it's the super soft runners I am running with. They're going to pit soon, and then it's just going to be me left out on the circuit, I do believe, as we are now up into 5th place as a Red Bull did pit on that lap. And Charles Leclerc is actually leading this Azerbaijan Grand Prix right now, which is absolutely bonkers. We now have Sebastian Vettel, our teammate, right on our gearbox as he has made his first stop of the Grand Prix, and he's gone onto a fresh set of the super soft tires. We've got our ERS up into hot lap mode to try and defend. We don't want to let him pass. He's going to the outside, through turn number 1, and we're going to squeeze him out. There's no way he's going to make that move stick as Valtteri Bottas sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. And now we are close enough to Lance Stroll to get the DRS. And Jeff saying the rain isn't here yet, but it is on its way, which is exactly what we want to hear. Because if it started raining now and we keep Vettel behind us, we'll be the first Ferrari to dive into the pit lane to go for the wet weather tires. We should get preference on the strategy based on track position. Oh, Sebastian Vettel so close to us. He's going for a move through this fast left-hander. We give him the space, but he can't quite make that move stick. He got the opportunity because I had a little bit of an issue getting onto the power, and I have been saving my battery. I've been running it sort of none through the middle sector and then turning it up right about now back into hot lap mode, and that Ferrari is right on our gearbox through the left kink and through the right kink. Now we're going to defend the inside line. He's going to get DRS soon. He's looking to the outside. Is he going to be close enough? We get DRS as well off Lance Stroll, and he's not diving across into our slipstream, and we are far enough ahead as we have a mega run on Lance Stroll. Not going to try anything too aggressive. Oh, he's parking the bus on the apex of turn number 1 so much there. There was a tiny bit of contact. We did keep our front wing intact, as now we're going to open the DRS flap up into hot lap mode, and now we're actually going to attack this Williams. Attack is the best form of defense, they do say, and up his inside we do go down into turn number 3, squeeze him out on the exit. We now have a car between ourselves and Sebastian Vettel, and we have Fernando Alonso just up ahead of us. Onto the long pit straight we do go again, and now Vettel is finally going to get his way past Lance Stroll. You can see he's fallen a little bit back by being caught up behind that Williams, and it looks like Grosjean is being overtaken by a McLaren down the pit straight. A little lockup from Alonso, drifts a bit wide, that's the word, into Grosjean, but they get through there cleanly enough, and now we are right on the back of Romain Grosjean up into hot lap mode, DRS flap open. But I don't think we are going to be close enough as we head down towards turn number 3, as he is sending it up the inside of Fernando Alonso. Can we possibly capitalize on this and look up the inside of Alonso? No, we don't. We think better of an aggressive move, aggressive hot-headed move at this stage of the race, considering our differing strategy. But this, getting caught up behind these two, has just allowed Vettel right back onto our gearbox. Into the last real corner on the circuit. Now we turn our battery all the way up into hot lap mode. Through the left kink we go, and through the right kink we're going. I've just noticed it's getting noticeably darker now as we have a run on Fernando Alonso to his inside. We get that done before we even open the DRS flap. A Ferrari on either side of Alonso. That's not going to make him happy, as now we have a mega run on Romain Grosjean, and we blast past the Frenchman down into turn number 1, and we do get the car stopped, and Vettel has followed us through on that double overtake, and he is up into 3rd place behind us. And now we're hunting down the race leader, which is Charles Leclerc, who's got a little bit of a gap, of course, still yet to pit, just like myself, whereas Vettel has made a pit stop in this Grand Prix. And down into turn 3, Vettel not close enough to send one up our inside. It is getting so much darker now. I feel like the rain is going to start falling any minute now. Sebastian Vettel looking to the outside into this left-hander. What is he doing? I almost drift wide and push him into the wall. There was absolutely nothing I could do, as now the rain is starting to fall. He's seen that. He wants to get ahead. He wants preference on the pit strategy to swap to the wet weather tires, but this has actually given us DRS in and his slipstream up into hot lap mode on the ERS, and we're going to get back past our teammate before we even open that DRS flap, and back into 2nd place we go. Charles Leclerc still staying out, as Jeff is saying there is an alternate strategy, and this could be going onto a wet weather set of tires, and indeed it is. So right now we need to stay ahead of Sebastian Vettel so we can pit first. We don't have to stack, and we'll hold on to this position, as it looks like we're coming in for intermediate tires at the end of lap number 12.
Check your MFD for
The grip is all going so quickly, and Jeff is telling me to swap to the intermediate tires, and I am going to be doing that at the end of this lap. There we go. DRS has now been disabled as I am sliding around so much. He is now up to the castle section, tippy-toeing our way through here over the top of the hill. The car is going. This could just give Vettel the chance that he needs to get back in front of us, trying to find the traction. We're going to turn our ERS up a little bit here to try to defend from Sebastian Vettel, having to lift through that left hand to the back end, wanting to get away from us down into this tricky left hander. We keep it out of the wall, is now down to the last real corner on the circuit. We do go so tentative, so little grip. We're understeering wide, getting beached up on the curb, but Vettel doesn't have the grip to make the most of our mistake there. He's struggling just as much as I am through these kinks. This is actually going to be scary on these tires. Oh, that is actually scary. Such a big lift, and here comes Sebastian Vettel. This is not what we want. Up into hot lap mode. We're side by side. We're going to be racing our teammate into the pit lane. This is going... He's staying out. He's staying out. They've given me the strategy, and we're coming into the pit lane. I don't really know where to slow down for this, and there we go. We are slowed down just in time. That was getting scary. I was worried Vettel was going to be coming into the pit lane there, but we just stayed ahead of him to get preference on the strategy. And we've actually got a bit away from the Force India that came in right on our gearbox, as he had to wait for a few other cars, but Charles Leclerc is still running in second place. He has come in and had his tires changed, and he is going to be in the net lead of the race once Sebastian Vettel does come in and make his stop in today's Grand Prix. That is absolutely bonkers. Charles Leclerc is in a position to win this race. Still a long way to go, of course. We're only at half race distance, but that Sauber has worked his way up into the lead of the Grand Prix. Right, reports heavy rain in 5 minutes time. So this is just the start of the rain. It's going to get worse. We're going to have to pit again in the very near future for another set of tires, and that will be the full extreme, the full wet tires, the blue banded tires. Is Vettel going to try to risk it on the dry tires? Until then, there's no way he can do that. I'm on intermediates, and you saw just how close I came to crashing at the castle section. That was scary. I genuinely thought I was going in and my front wing was coming off. I'm trying to get used to these conditions, get a feel for them. I haven't driven Baku much, and especially not in these conditions. We did have good pace in China once it went full wet, so maybe once the rain properly comes down, things will swing back in our favor at this Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Vettel has not pitted yet, and you can see he's already been passed by Charles Leclerc. You can just see him as a speck in the distance going into the pit lane right there. That is how much time he has lost by doing an extra lap on the dry tires in these conditions, and the rain has really come down, and now Charles Leclerc has taken the lead of this Grand Prix, myself sitting in second place. Right, Jeff just confirming to us that the intermediate is the best tire to be on at this stage of the Grand Prix. It's lap 16 of 26. We just have over 10 laps to go. The rain is meant to get heavier in the near future, but not yet. Still the intermediate tires, and I am really struggling. When you put some water down on a street circuit, it gets very difficult, because the one slightest mistake could put you in that wall, and that is race over. So right now I'm not pushing too hard. I'm just making sure I stay far enough away from Grosjean that he's not going to attack me, and just keeping this car on the black stuff right now, which is proving more difficult than you might think. So it looks like Ricciardo has made his way up into third place, and he is going a little bit quicker than Romain Grosjean did, so I might need to start upping the pace just a little bit, start pushing a little bit harder than I am right at the moment. A little lock up into turn 2. Even though I'm not pushing that hard, it is still enough of a challenge just to keep this car out of the walls, and now we're going to have some pressure from that recently upgraded Red Bull, I do believe. So the heavy rain is easing up in 15 minutes time, so that says the heavy rain is already here, yet we're still on the intermediate tires. No calls to go to the wet tires just yet, so maybe we will just go to the end on this set of intermediates. Right, Jeff's saying to come in at the end of this lap, and I believe he's going to be bolting on a fresh set of the intermediate tires. I'm just looking at my wear, 8% on the front, 9% 22 and 23 on the rears. There's no point getting rid of these tires just yet. I am comfortable on these tires. I've got plenty of life left in them right at this moment. I don't see the point in pitting. Right, so I didn't get any reminder to box a message, so I am not going to be pitting. And it looks like Charles Leclerc has dived into the pit lane from the lead of the Grand Prix. So we have, in fact, taken the lead of this Azerbaijan Grand Prix as we start lap number 20. Ricciardo pitted on the previous lap, which meant Lewis Hamilton was the car behind me, but they are all pitting. Everyone seems to be going into the lane, and it looks like they are all staying on the intermediate tires, and this decision is really confusing me because my intermediate tires are absolutely fine unless I am some sort of tire saving god compared to them, which I doubt I am. I'm not too sure why they're all pitting, and now we just have a huge lead with 7 laps to go, or just under 7 laps to go in this Azerbaijan Grand Prix. So coming up to the line, we've got 4 laps left to go of this Azerbaijan Grand Prix. My tyres are holding on fine, 37% on the rear right is my worst tyre right now, which is absolutely nothing for me to worry about with only 4 laps to go. But I'm looking at that battle for second. Daniel Ricciardo is really closing in on Charles Leclerc. Oh, no. Let's grab reverse and back into first. Nobody saw that. That's going to hurt us a lot of time, but I think we should be far enough ahead of them over 4 laps to stay ahead of those two, especially if they do start battling. They are a bit quicker on the fresher tyre, but not that much quicker, and I think we should still be safe in the lead of this Grand Prix as long as we don't do anything else all too stupid. But I'm in 2 minds about who I want finishing second. First of all, it would be great to have Leclerc finishing second. That would be insane. But also, if Ricciardo finishes second, it's an Australia 1-2 finish, and I like the sound of that. And Charles Leclerc should still be standing upon the podiums. I think the Mercedes is too far behind to challenge Leclerc, and it's only half a second now between those two. Right, onto the straight we do go. It's going to be interesting to see what Ricciardo can do about Leclerc. No DRS, and he has a Renault power unit, whereas Leclerc has the Ferrari engine, which is supposed to be better. Is Ricciardo going to be able to get past? And yeah, it looks like he is. He is past Charles Leclerc. Just like that. Is Charles going to come back? I am not too sure. I need to focus on my own driving. I can't keep watching the top left-hand corner of my screen. It looks like Ricciardo has made that move stick, so it is now an Australia 1-2 here in Azerbaijan. Right, 2 laps to go here in Azerbaijan. The gap back to Ricciardo is only down to 4 seconds now with 2 laps to go, but that, or 3.7 now, but that should be enough for us to hold on, I do think. We do have a lot of battery in store. I have been saving that for quite a while, but our tyres are starting to go off a little bit, mainly on the rears. We're losing a bit of rear grip. We've still got plenty at the front end of the car, but the rear tyres are a bit over 40% now, and they're not giving me optimum grip, let's say. And that Red Bull, of course, I did mention at the start of the episode, they brought some upgrades to that car, and it's a lot closer to us than it has been at the previous 3 races in terms of performance. Here we go, coming up to the line to start the final lap of this Azerbaijan Grand Prix. We are still leading the race, but by only 2.2 seconds back to Daniel Ricciardo. But for him to gain 2.2 seconds and to pass us as well, I think is unlikely. As Jeff saying, he's only catching me at a second a lap. I think we should be safe. I'm not going to count my chickens just yet. End of Sector 1, the gap is only down to 1.9. He's only pulled us in by 0.3 of a second. Ooh, a fair bit of wheel spin out of that tricky left hand, and now down into the last real corner. We're starting to see the proximity arrow. It's only 0.5 of a second back to Ricciardo through the kinks. We now do go, lifting off a little bit as the back end is wanting to break away from us. Here comes Daniel Ricciardo. Is he going to be close enough? It's a long run to the line. He is gaining, and it is not going to be enough as we win the Azerbaijan Grand Prix by a very small margin over our fellow Aussie Daniel Ricciardo. And then I do believe Charles Leclerc held on to the final place on the podium, and after 3 consecutive second places, we finally take the step up and win a Grand Prix.
How exactly did they set themselves apart from the pack today? Well, they clearly have a car that comes alive in the kind of conditions we were dealing with today. It's a very balanced package in the wet, and what that means is that the drivers have confidence to attack. And having that confidence gets you on the power earlier, it lets you brake later, and can put you a long way up the road.
And as we can see, it's time for the podium, and as the drivers make their way out, there's a familiar red suit making its way to the top step. Fantastic win for Ferrari.
So the final finishing margin between myself and Daniel Ricciardo ended up being only 91 thousandths of a second, so close there at the end. But in the end, that Red Bull with the Renault power unit just didn't have the legs on my Ferrari. Of course, no DRS in those wet conditions, a bit of DRS, and I think he would have sailed past me. And then Charles Leclerc standing atop a podium in a Sauber, absolutely mental there. Lewis Hamilton came home in 4th place with Verstappen in 5th. Then you have Perez, Grosjean, Alonso, Sergei Sirotkin getting in the points, and Nico Hülkenberg rounding out the points. Both Valtteri Bottas and Sebastian Vettel missing out on points here in Baku, so a very pivotal day here in terms of the championship. And let's have a look at that. I am now standing on top of the championship standings with a 24-point lead over Valtteri Bottas, almost a full race win. The two Mercedes are in 2nd and 3rd, Hamilton there in 3rd, 30 points back off myself, and Sebastian Vettel a further 2 points back off Lewis Hamilton. So we've kept our nose fairly clean this season, 3 seconds, and now finally a 1st place. Everyone else has had some sort of mishap. Bottas and Vettel missing out on points here in Baku. Lewis Hamilton with the power, not actually power unit, some mechanical failure, I don't know what, at the last round of the championship in China. And then it's the two Red Bulls, Verstappen just ahead of Ricciardo. Then you got the Renault and Force India of Hülkenberg, Ocon, Charles Leclerc getting up into 9th place, a big haul of points there for Sauber, and then Checo Perez rounding out the top 10. If we do look at the championship standings for the constructors, Ferrari sitting on top by 22 points over Mercedes. Then it is Red Bull in 3rd place. Force India still in that best of the rest place, just ahead of Renault by 5 points. Sauber jumping up all the way into 6th place, which I believe is also their first points of the season, getting ahead of Haas. Then it's McLaren, Toro Rosso, and Williams. Every team already scoring points after only 4 rounds of the championship. Absolutely mental stuff. So here is the R&D progression history for every team so far this season. As you can see, Red Bull made a big jump coming to Baku, and Mercedes made a little jump to become the best team on the grid. I do have one R&D thing in progress, which is on the powertrain. I did this before the Baku weekend when I arrived here and saw that these other teams had made some improvements. So as it stands, only Ferrari and McLaren have not actually put an upgrade on their car yet. Renault made some big moves early on, Force India making some bigger moves now as well. Williams also trying to get themselves off the bottom of the grid. It'll be interesting to see how this all shapes up towards the end of the season. Hopefully Red Bull can get on level with us and Mercedes, and hopefully maybe someone from the midfield like Renault can also work their way up to us. But the next round of the championship is in Spain, not one of my preferred tracks. It's going to be a tough weekend, but hopefully we can continue our run of podiums in every race so far. But that is going to do it for today, guys. If you guys did enjoy this video, make sure you do leave a like on the video. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you do subscribe with notifications on so you know when every episode of this series does go live, along with all my other F1 2018 content. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.